Ridley Report, like many previous editions, is brought to you by freekeys.com. Okay, levity aside now, we're dealing with a serious issue. I'm sitting here with Bill from Weare, New Hampshire, and you have just some breaking news to tell me about something that's happening with George Hodgson. Am I saying that right?
Yes, George Hodgson, the owner of Palmer's Tavern in Weare.
He was arrested some time ago for apparently not, doing enough about something that happened.
Yeah, he was arrested about a year ago, and he recently had a trial where he was found not guilty of all charges.
Right, complicated charges that are just thrown out, basically.
Right.
But what's happening now, apparently, is that, well, tell me what's happened since the trial.
Well, I believe a day or so after the trial, his lawyer, Seth Hipple, was contacted by Dan O'Brien, who's the reporter for the Union Leader. And Dan O'Brien told Seth that Chief Began of the Weare PD had called him and told him that he was going to arrest George Hodgson again, and that the charge is going to be related to election tampering by virtue of George stealing the elect Began sheriff sign that they had put on his property. But it's more complicated than that because two on-duty officers showed up to Palmer's Tavern while George was there and asked him if they could put the sign on the property, which they're not supposed to do on duty, number one. And number two, George was intimidated, so he said, yeah, sure, put it there, because he's been harassed by them so much over the last year or so. Shortly after they put it there, within a day or two, he took it down and brought it inside. And so Began was actually reelected. So now after the election, Began calls up George and said, hey, George, could you bring the sign back to the police station? And, of course, I think it was just a ploy to have George arrested when he showed up with the sign. He also mentioned to George during the phone call that the phone call was being recorded. And so George didn't fall for that. But the bottom line is that the Union Leader seems to be now on our side because they alerted Seth that they had gotten a call from the police saying they were going to arrest him. And the last time they got a call from the police saying they were going to arrest him, Dan O'Brien showed up there and filmed the arrest.
So it sounds like two different issues of concern here. First, they try to trick him into taking the sign to a place where he could be arrested.
Yes.
And second, the fact that they're going to arrest him for having a sign that they put on his property.
Right. So they asked him for permission. So then when he took his permission away, they saying he's breaking the law.
Yeah, well, Weare PD. Okay.
Yep.
Well, we'll see what happens with this, but I thought I should inform viewers that this new concern has come up with regard to George Hodgson, who basically, was all over it in court. He did very well the other day on the earlier charges. So we'll see how it works out. It's reporting out for RidleyReport.com, brought to you by freekeys.com. Working to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen in Keys. freekeys.com.